him, and then it made me realize like there's a lot of emotion kind of revolving around this whole situation. It's quite an interesting topic that isn't done. And I think like, games have this power to kind of tell stories about anything, but very often you see kind of the same things. So I thought like, well, I've got a game jam coming up in a few weeks. Like, I'll just take this idea and go with it.
I am joined by Lucy Blundell, who is the solo dev behind One Night Stand. So thanks for talking with us today, Lucy.
Sure.
To start, why don't you kind of give us the convention pitch of One Night Stand in your own words?
Okay. So One Night Stand kind of thrusts you into morning after scenario, and you decide how things play out. So you have no idea how you got there. You're hungover and it's all hazy, and you wake up and you see this like strange woman lying next to you, and you can either kind of stay and try and find out more about it, or you can leave and make a break for it. There's 12 different endings, and each one kind of reflects how differently things can play out.
This seems to me like a very unique game. It's not something that I've seen addressed, this idea of the one night stand, in other games. So what was the thing that got you to make this game?
So it was like a Saturday morning, and I was going into town on the tram, and I saw this guy kind of sat opposite me, and he just looked really hungover and ill, and I was just like wondering like, what has he been up to? Like it just got me like thinking like, did he just get really drunk, or did he have a one night stand, or did he just stay up late? I don't know, but it made me kind of giggle to myself a bit. But I also felt a bit sorry for him, and then it made me realize like there's a lot of emotion kind of revolving around this whole situation. It's quite an interesting topic that isn't done. And I think like, games have this power to kind of tell stories about anything, but very often you see kind of the same things. So I thought like, well, I've got a game jam coming up in a few weeks. Like, I'll just take this idea and go with it. And that was it really. So yeah, like I say, it's not quite a romance story. It's more about this kind of hungover, what the hell happened kind of situation.
Yeah. One of the things that really grabbed my attention with playing One Night Stand was how quickly you can get through a story and how engaging that made the game. I was really surprised by how the game really grabbed me, and I wanted to just keep trying different options and see if I could get different results. So why did you choose to focus on making quick kind of short stories as opposed to a longer, more lengthy narrative?
So really like, so I don't know if you know, but it was originally made for a game jam game, for NaNoRenner, which is about a month long. So the game had to be a small idea, and sure, it could have been like just linear and longer, but there just seemed to be so many different like choices and scenarios and different outcomes that I ended up kind of doing it this way. Like I know a few people have said to me like, oh, they'd love a full length kind of version of One Night Stand, but I just wonder like what exactly that would be, because it's kind of typical that you'd like wake up and just either leave or be polite and then leave. So making it longer it kind of just didn't feel very natural to me, I guess. Like I think about it a lot. Like a lot of players want to romance her and want it to kind of get this kind of like conclusion, like this romantic conclusion, and there are hints to that in the game. Like There are like text messages, and she kind of, if you get a really good ending, she'll kind of play guitar for you, and maybe like there's a hint to a relationship there. Mm-hmm. But it still is more about this kind of drunk, hungover morning situation, and it's not really a dating sim, I guess.
Yeah, no, I think it works better, but it was interesting to think about a narrative game like you've made usually takes a longer form, and I liked that it was this kind of short segmented opportunity to experience the same event, kind of Groundhog Day style, over and over again.
Yeah.
The other thing that really grabbed me with One Night Stand is the art style, which is a form of rotoscoping, I guess is what it's called. So I'd love for you to kind of talk about that process and what drew you to use that as your art style.
Sure. So at university, I practiced rotoscoping. I got a degree in animation. And I'd never really since then had a chance to use it. So I guess like with it being my first fully released game, I was like, okay, I kind of want to try this. The sprites, the rotoscope sprites, are quite a unique and rarely used style, I think. I really like that style. I think it's super expressive, and it's really perfect for this kind of awkward one-night stand scenario. I think it helps create a deeper connection. And also, like, even for a game jam, it was surprisingly quick to do, because once you film the footage, which the girl is actually, well, I acted her. So I did this footage of myself and then kind of draw over the top of it. And I used Toon Boom Studio for that. And then created the kind of hazy, soft, blurry kind of effect underneath. So yeah, it was really simple to do, and yet it was still really expressive, and it was, yeah, I just really, really like the style, and I can imagine I might do it again in future.
Yeah. It's a totally unique style that I hadn't seen before. So shifting gears from talking about kind of the background of the game itself to your background, what drew you to get involved with game development?
So it's funny, it's not something I always thought I'd get into. And like I say, I did animation at university. And I did think I want to do something with games in the future. But yeah, like after I graduated, I got a job as a graphic designer for Chilingo, who are now part of Electronic Arts. So I don't know if you know, but they work with like hundreds of like mobile indie games, like Android and iOS. And at the time, like they had so many games, like over 100 or 200. I was there, and I was there for about 5 years. And they published the original Angry Birds and Cut the Rope and like Contre-Jour and loads of games. And because you see so many of them coming in, you kind of start learning what makes some of them so great. So I guess like I just got really confident, like after I'd been there for so long. And I'd always wanted to create my own thing, like ever since I was a kid. I just didn't know it was going to be a game. I always thought it would be a comic or something like that. Like I especially didn't think it'd be a game because I didn't have any programming experience. And that was something that I did kind of towards the last year of me being at Chilingo. I kind of started to kind of learn RenPy and like basic Python. And before that I'd only really done like HTML and CSS, so it wasn't too far removed, I guess. But yeah, like RenPy has a really nice kind of community, like on the Lemonsoft forums, and they're really supportive. So yeah, like with their help, I learned how to code, and eventually just went into making a kind of a full-time visual novel. My One Night Stand is actually my second visual novel. But I'm still working on my first. It's just such a large project. I've been working on it for nearly 2 years now, I think.
Wow.
So yeah.
Awesome. So what games have kind of informed your taste in your growing up and as a gamer? What are some of your favorites? Some of your inspirations?
I think, well, my favorite that comes to mind is Final Fantasy VII.
Hmm.
I absolutely love that game. I'm actually playing Final Fantasy VI at the moment, which I have played before, but I've never finished it. Um, so yeah, I'm trying to finish it this time. It's just I find some of the bit near the end is a bit, I don't want to say boring, but a little bit tedious.
Yeah.
I could sure the first time I played it. I don't want to spoil anything, but um, yeah. So Final Fantasy VII is definitely like my favorite game. I think I played it when I was about 11 or 12, and it just kind of stuck with me. And I think maybe it was that early sign that I was going to make a game one day.
Cool.
Yeah, and also like a huge. I don't play it anymore, but I loved World of Warcraft as well. My the full the long visual novel that I'm actually working on, which hasn't released yet, is kind of inspired by like my time that I spent in World of Warcraft. So yeah, I guess I'm just inspired by like games,
Fair enough.
like too much.
And to kind of bring things to a close, we like to ask developers that we interview if there are other developers out there that they think are doing something particularly interesting to them or something they haven't seen elsewhere that people might have not heard of. So, are there?
Yes. So there's two games that I'm particularly excited about. They're both about dogs, and which I might be getting a dog soon, so maybe that's why I'm so
Ah.
excited. But yeah, the first one is called Year of the Dog, and it's by Fox Dog Farms. And it's a game about living in San Francisco with a Shiba Inu. And you're like a rookie dog owner, and you have to learn how to look after another human being. Not a human being, sorry, another living being. And that wouldn't be very good.
That's a very different game.
That's not about dogs. Um, but yeah, like a game about actually looking after a pet. I don't think I've really seen it in the way that this guy is doing it. It looks really kind of, you take it for walks, and it also looks a little bit silly in parts. Um, yeah, it doesn't look like the same as like those kind of virtual pets, like
Hmm.
pets, dogs and cats, and those really old games. It looks more like there's a narrative there, I guess. Um, so yeah, so that's the first dog game. The second one is Home Free, which is by Kevin Cassian, I think his name is. But it was a Kickstarter project, and in that one you actually play as the dog, and you play in like an unfamiliar city, and you have to try and find like food and shelter and scraps and everything. And eventually, I think you find a home. So you actually play as the dog in this open world, and it just seems really kind of, I don't know, like it's not really been done. Like I guess there's a few games I can think of, like Okami, and like you can play as Wolf Link and stuff.
Hmm.
But like this game where you're actually a dog in a real world, I feel like it's not been done. So it's kind of why I like a lot of indie games, because they
Mm.
kind of explore ideas that haven't been done. So yeah,
Absolutely. Perfect. Well, Lucy Blundell of Kinmoku Games, thank you for taking the time to talk with us about One Night Stand,
sure.
and we'll eagerly be awaiting news about your other visual novel.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.